on the right track, Councilwoman?
I think we are now, Bill. I think the points are well taken that we, in 2005, adopted a plan that had at its center a rainbow bridge that really was an unrealistic vision for how to spark downtown revitalization. So the truth is, we did have to clear some of those elements that didn't make sense and weren't supported by the taxpayers. We are sharply focused now on public infrastructure and the core element of the convention center to make sure that the public money goes in those areas that will draw then private investment, and we are seeing that investment. I expect with the streetcar going in that we're going to see some really mounting activity that will be exciting. If I could just hook back, I need to, on public safety very quickly. I just have to disagree with Ben in terms of our commitment to investing when revenues are there, and even in the budget downturn, we have protected public safety from cuts. Every other department has employees with 5 furlough days, not public safety. We have done everything we can, not only to insulate those areas from budget cuts in a huge downturn, but to continue to bolster our partnerships with the police and fire departments and our prevention efforts so that we stop crime before it happens. And that's why crime is trending downward.
And again, it comes back to priorities. It's just not enough. Our police chief has said that our police force is completely on the reactive right now. And as a criminal justice major, someone who studied this topic, you cannot be completely reactive. We've got to find the funds to get community policing back in our community, free the officers up so they can actually, we need to get ahead of this.
Jim, we only have about 4 minutes, so let's see if we can get some real quick answers on some of these topics.
Sure. Karen, one of your first acts when you took office was to lower fees for Parks and Recreation classes. The Parks and Recreation Department has come back now 4 years later and saying, you know, we should get these fees back up. And I think you're leaning towards doing that, but it won't happen until the next budget year. It won't go into place until next July. What's the holdup on moving forward with increasing those revenues for the city?
Well, we succeeded in balancing the current year's budget on time with deep cuts and some new revenues. And so we succeeded in balancing the budget while continuing to examine these areas. What we did with Parks and Rec was scale back some of the services, the neighborhood center hours, the swimming pools. What I'm hearing from citizens now is they wanted us to cut first, but that there's a willingness to look at fees based on income level, so that if people can afford to pay a higher fee for a class, that we look at that. So rather than snapping in high fees that could drop enrollment and participation, we'll do it in a way that's healthy and make sure that families and seniors can still access those important programs.
Ben, do you think these fees for courses should be going up, and if so, should they go up sooner?
Well, you and I had this chat last week, and I believe you have to examine the budget in its entire context. And Tucson is facing a couple of years of a pretty hard road, and everybody's going to have to pitch in. Let me come back to my original proposal, though. First, we need to look at growing the overall pie. There's a project down in South Park, in the South Park neighborhood, that's estimated to contribute 2,200 jobs and $47 million in sales tax revenue to Tucson. And that project right now, it's had a little trouble getting out of the barn, and the incumbent was someone who was the only person who voted against that project to create jobs and create sales revenue. So we've got to look at the revenue side first to the extent we can by making Tucson business friendly again, and then yes, absolutely, we need to look at the elasticities in the golf fees and some of these other programs to find out. And Karen does make a good point. There's an equilibrium point at which you can only raise the price so much before people stop buying. So you don't want to go past that point. But absolutely, we've got to evaluate. Everything needs to be on the table. Tucson is looking at some challenging times.
And Mary, should these fees be increased for the city, and if so, should they be increased more rapidly?
Jim, my approach is radically different. Traditionally, Democrats have looked to government for answers. Republicans traditionally turn to business and industry. Green Party is populist in its roots. We look to the neighbors and to the communities. I think that by drawing more of our citizens into the process, we can meet needs. We can enrich the quality of the lives of our people without government regulation and without the ties that come through business and industry influence.
Are you saying we should get rid of parks courses?
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that we should get rid of parks courses at all. What I'm saying is that we can coordinate them and take advantage of dormant resources where we have people who are willing to come in voluntarily.
We've only got 30 seconds, unfortunately, and I want to give you each a few seconds. Karen Ulick, why should you be retained for another 4 years?
Well, I think Mary makes a very good point, and I'm so proud to work with and serve the citizens of Tucson. In this city, I see so many people stepping forward, not in negativity, not in fear, not in anger. People want to participate and solve the problems ahead, and I'm very excited about the possibility of continuing service.
Very similar. I see serving on the city council as just an extension of the 30 years of community service I've invested in this town. I've got the practical experience both on the criminal justice side and the business side to get this done, and I want to echo Mary's point. Tucsonans as a whole need to step up. We can all pitch in getting this job done, and they need to do it. Besides just voting, they need to get out and get involved in their community.
Mary, you get the final word.
Thank you very much. That's an honor.
Quickly.
Okay, quickly. I do think that it's time for the Green Party. We accept no corporate money. We rely on grassroots democracy. And I think that we've got very pragmatic and implementable economic solutions for Tucson.
Thank you all for being with us, sharing
Thank
some
you,
of your
Bill.
thoughts tonight. Jim, thank you. We'll see you Friday night on the Roundtable.